It's open mic night, which means we are taking your calls next. Cannot wait to hear what you have to say. It's been a little over a week since we talked last, and a lot's happened. We can talk about the Debo contract. We can talk about Trey Lance. We can talk about the offensive line or anything else that's on your mind. We're going to get to it in just a minute, right after the intro. Let's go. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. It's your boy, Jesse. We have a lot to talk about, Niner Faithful. We have a lot to talk about. It is open mic night. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. So it's your chance to call in, get any take that you have off. If you have a bone to pick with me, or you just want to chat about anything that's going on with the Niners, tonight is the night to do it. I also know that football started tonight. Like, come on, it's preseason, it's Jacksonville, and we don't really care that much. So let's talk 49ers while you're watching the game. I'm going to bring in my guy, Korean 49er, to kick us off. He was unable to call in last week. I believe he was at a concert. What's up, Korean 49er? How you doing, man?
I'm good, Jesse. I saw a Pink Floyd tribute band last week, so can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, go ahead.
Saw a Pink Floyd tribute band since Roger Waters and David Gilmour would like to bury a hatchet in each other's heads at times, I think, and reunite, but we can leave it at that.
Was it a good band at least? Like, did they do a good job?
Yeah, it was a good show. Had a good time. That's all I could ask for.
Yeah, that's dope. That's cool, man. Well, I'm glad that you are back. I know it's been a while since we've done the call-ins, and of course, on night one, you were unable to make it, but you're back, taking the number one spot. Just so that you guys know the order right now, it's going to be Korean 49er, that Niner guy, and then Gammon. And then it's open. Like I said, always get in early. That way you can get in, get out. You don't have to wait a ton. It's on your mind, man.
First thing is I have a little skepticism with the interior of the offensive line and defensive tackle depth. It's disappointing that Hurst went down, but he didn't contribute very much last season, so expectations were more or less the same. And with the interior of the offensive line, when you put Brendel in there, you're telling me that a guy who's kind of bounced around and hasn't held down a starting spot, at least for a little while, is suddenly going to be the starter. I raise my hand and say I don't foresee that, but hey, if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, here's what I'll say about the offensive line, and I've made this point a lot, but I'll say it again. We don't know if the offensive line is going to be an issue. I'm trying to remain optimistic about it, but let's go down the route and say that it is going to be an issue. It would be unfortunate because the 49ers had money in Jimmy Garoppolo that if they had gotten rid of, they could have gone out and made some moves to fix said issue. And if that's what holds this team back, I think that would be very unfortunate. You know, they've got a rookie quarterback as far as wage scale. They only have a few years to take advantage of that. They decided not to really do that last year by playing him. And if they miss out this year because the offensive line isn't up to snuff, because they decided to hang on to Jimmy G well into training camp or what have you, I think that would be a mistake. So hopefully one of those guys, whether it's Brendel or Brunskill, one of them can take over that job and do a good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. We'll see what happens. One other thing, I have no problem with occasional fights and scuffles during practices. You're getting it's hot out there, people are losing their people are the players are emotional and such. But my thing about Fred is you don't hit him. Marcus Johnson may not make the team. Don't hit him late, or that's just my thing. Just don't do anything like that. You don't need to unintentionally injure your current teammate. That's the only thing. I don't have any problems with. Like, come on,
he was
man.
an innocent bystander for sure. I mean, Fred's trying to make a point, and it sounds like he got his point across. You know, I'll say the good thing that came from it is that Ayuk is playing out of his mind. And, some of that might be the irritation due to Fred Warner, but either way, he's showing out. He's doing a lot of us predicted that he would have a breakout year. And it sounds like camp started out slow, and he's quickly turned into the best player on the offensive side of the ball, which is great to hear. This is the skill level that a lot of us saw, and we're hoping that he'd be able to tap into. And it sounds like he's starting to get there. But yeah, that's, the Fred Warner thing. I go back and forth because I do love the physicality. I love that he's the captain of the defense and he's willing to set the tone. But then on the flip side, it's like, man, this poor kid's not going to make the team, and just flatlined him for no reason. Like, my gosh. So yeah, I can hear you out on that one for sure.
I just don't want to hear someone got hurt in a football fight when someone tried to throw a punch and the helmet. The consistent winner won when the hand broke, or said person throwing punch has their hand swollen up like a grapefruit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's the last thing we need is somebody to hit somebody else's face with a helmet. That's great.
The dumbest person in a football fight is the one who took the helmet off to swing it like a baseball.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, really? Then someone can cold cock you for no reason if you're not paying attention. But
I'll say this, though. I'll say this. Keep an eye out for when the 49ers go and practice with Minnesota. If they're getting this chippy with each other, I'm curious to see how chippy they get with the other team in a week's worth of practice. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that brings out.
One last point before I let you go, Jesse. I always figured that Deebo Samuel's contract was going to get done at some point. It was just so stupid that Deebo had to, whoever gave him the advice to take down all your Instagram stuff. I don't care about the social media stuff, but it's like, just kind of, let it play out and don't get too high or low over it. It's not worth losing your cool over. You got paid. What's the big deal? You got paid a little bit later than somebody else.
Yeah, and I think that it worked out for him in the long run, because I think if he had gotten paid early in the offseason, the deals that were going then were 4 and 5 year deals. And this deal ended up being much shorter because the other guys around him got shorter deals, the guys that were in his draft class. And so they kind of set the tone, which I think ultimately is good for Deebo, because he'll be 29 when that contract runs out, and he's going to get a second chance at getting a big payday. If he had gotten a 5 year deal, that probably wouldn't have been the case, right? So I think in the long run, it worked out for Deebo. I think Deebo learned a lot about the business side of things. I understand where he's coming from. He certainly deserved to get paid. He got paid, and wanting it early, I get it. Like, I would probably be antsy too. I mean, what if you work out during the offseason and got hurt, and then you never got the payday? That's certainly a risk. So I understand where he's coming from. I think if we were able to get a genuine answer from Deebo, I think he would say that he'd play it different as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So I'm just hopefully most of the time now I'm going to just, when the official sports season ends for like football season, officially ends, I'm just going to take it easy, not even try to pay attention. Just trying to keep the start of the gray hairs down a little bit.
Yeah, the offseason was a bit of a whirlwind for sure. I mean, there's a lot that goes on that isn't necessarily football, right? And a lot of speculation one way or another. So I hear you for sure. Hey, man, thanks for calling in. Thanks for getting this thing started. I'm going to move on to that Niner guy and then Gammon. Appreciate you for kicking it off, and we'll talk next week.
Thank you, Jesse.
Later, brother. All right. What's up, everybody? What's up, Melissa? Matt, 49ers throwback, Lawrence, Andrew, Raphael. I see all you. I appreciate you. All right, let me bring in that Niner guy. Let's see what he's got to talk about here. What up, man? How are you?
Jesse, what's up, man? I haven't talked to you in a minute. How you been?
I've been great, man. It's been a while for sure. How you been?
Good, man. I tried unplugging for a bit during the off season because, like, I'm sorry, this crap was ridiculous. Yeah, it was. I mean, I like to throw a barb at Twitter now and then, although like I just kind of started on Twitter. But my God, everyone needs to calm down.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's there's not a lot going on, and so when something happens, I think it can get blown out of proportion a little bit. And going back to the Debo thing, I mean, him requesting a trade certainly lit things on fire. A lot of opinions one way or another. It can get interesting. I understand why you would unplug for sure. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, like I get why people were frustrated with Debo, but you got to remember it's all about big money. He's at the first time in his life to get generational wealth. You got to do what you think is right. I don't blame. I wouldn't call anything he did childish antics because he wasn't the first one to do it. The other players have done it and it's worked. So you may not like it. You may not like the new style of how they're going to do negotiations. But if it's for $20+ million a year, when wide receivers never have got that money before, guess what? They're going to try some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was pretty clear the whole time that I understood where Debo was coming from. I think Debo had every right to do what he did. I mean, that's really his only leverage. You think about it. If the 49ers decided not to pay him, then okay, he plays out his rookie contract and then they can franchise and tag him next year.
Right.
Like, what is Debo's leverage, right? If he doesn't show up to training camp, he loses his accrued year. So it's like, yeah, that was his leverage. Like, what do you expect from the guy? Now, again, I think Debo genuinely would take some of that stuff back the way some of it played out. Now that we've gotten to where we're at, I think him saying that Trent Williams was in his ear for a big part of that offseason, and then hearing Trent Williams talk about the situation himself and say, in a roundabout way, called Debo a little immature. Whether he meant to or not, he said that he showed his maturity coming into camp and showing up. And I think that, again, if we had a genuine moment with Debo, he might change a little bit. Maybe he wouldn't. Either way, it worked out, and he's a part of the freaking 49ers, and he's my favorite player, so I'm happy he's here.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's something else. Also, one thing I want to talk to you about is some of our draft takes. I wanted to hit you with a couple names. I want to let you know how they're doing. Guess who's the starting safety for the Colts right now?
Oh, I would imagine who I forget the safety they took because the Lions took one and they took one. The kid from the hell was his name? I know exactly who it is, but yes,
Nick Cross.
He's starting for him. Okay, there we go.
He's picked Matt Ryan twice, 2 times. Okay, we need another third down running back. It's fine. Third round running back. We need another one. That one really, that still pisses me off. That one's gonna bite us in the ass, I think, later this season. I mean, I'm glad Funga's playing well, but it sounds like though too that they're rotating Tarvarius Moore in there. They're not as, it's not like with Burford, right? Even if they sign some tackles, which I think they did today, I see Jalen Moore getting second reps. I still think Burford's going to be the starter though. I don't see that for Funga right now. If they're going to rotate Moore in. Maybe they really like Moore. I'm not quite sure, but it's just something to think about, guys. I think that the one thing that they should have focused on was getting another athletic guy in the secondary. But
yeah, man, I'm glad that you're keeping up on some of these players because we certainly say things and hey, I would have drafted this player over that player, or whatever. And a lot of times you don't keep up on what's going on. It's still very early, but to hear that he's having a good camp and we were frustrated in the moment that he was not the pick, that's even more frustrating. But I will say this, TDP's also having a pretty good camp from what I understand, right? Sure. He's looking good, physical. Sounds like he's actually maybe a little bit faster than what he showed on some of the film. He's able to get to the outside, which is huge. So, let's hope that it pans out. But Cross would have been a hell of a pick, man. And I think he's going to be a pretty good player. And it sounds like he's starting out pretty good as well. Yeah,
not surprised. I mean, like, he's a super good athlete, but yeah, like I don't hate TDP. It's not like I'm gonna just brag on him
for sure.
Do the whole fan thing. I'm gonna rag on a guy because we didn't pick the guy that I thought they should have picked. But it's just it's some of the holes on this team. I think they actually did a better job addressing the holes in the offensive line. I'm actually not as concerned with the guards. I'm a lot more concerned at the center.
Center spot, yeah.
Yeah, I actually think Banks and Buford's going to be a really nice tandem this year. I genuinely believe Buford's going to be the starting right tackle next year. I think they're just trying to get him on the field this year and next year he's going to replace McGlinchey. Because, I mean, that guy's got some impressive measurables, and I watched a lot of his tape, and I was a really big fan.
Yeah, and he does. He has the body type to be a tackle, right? Like he should probably play tackle in this league. So I agree with you. I think that probably is the long-term plan. We'll see what they do with McGlinchey. You know, we'll see how he plays this year. I'm just happy that he's actually playing pretty good. It's very early, but sounds like he's doing good. And just on a personal level, like you got to root for that, right? Like this guy came off of a very serious injury, one that could have ended his career. He's worked his butt off to get back, and sounds like he's looking pretty good. So that's great for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do root for McGlinchey. I know a lot of us bag on him and call him McFloppy, but at the end of the day, he's a solid starting right tackle. I think that he's going to price himself out for the 49ers if he hits free agency. Just, little things like that. And I really hope he does well this year, because the better he does, the better Trey's going to look. So, but yeah, Jesse, I'll let you go. But anyway, everyone just calm down. Just if you guys want to freak out about offensive line play, go watch the first quarter of the Raiders not block Arden Key and Trevon Walker, and their starting offensive line minus Colt Miller. That looked bad. All right.
Yeah, that's the one thing that might hold the Raiders back, right? They got a very good team, but that right there is they can't keep Carr upright. That could be worrisome for sure. So
it could be a disaster for a really good team. That would suck.
Yeah, definitely would. All right, brother, you have a good one.
You too, buddy.
All right, so here's the order. We're going to go Gammon, Rohan. We were going to go Bryant, but it looks like he stepped out. I don't know if he's having connection issues. And then we're going to go with Melissa. So let's bring on my guy, Gammon. What's up, Gammon? How are you?
I'm doing all right, brother. How about yourself?
Doing good. I saw you in the chat trying to figure out a way to razz me.
I was trying to bait you.
I want to see if you got it or not.
You know what? Unfortunately, once you told me I was being followed up by Rohan, which is not fair. It's like having somebody who plays like high school sports and then being someone coming up who does it like professionally. Like it's just not fair. Everyone's gonna forget me as soon as he comes on. But
absolutely. Hey, real quick, brother. Hold on. Your the audio is a little off. Like it's kind of clicking in and out. So jump from the studio and then come back in. I think it's StreamYard's end.
Okay.
Just make it easy. Sometimes StreamYard's real sketchy with the audio. I don't understand it. It does it to my audio as well. You can have a perfect internet connection and just doesn't go well for some reason. So we'll give Gammon a second. Hopefully Rohan comes back in. It looks like he dropped out as well. I don't know. Maybe StreamYard's having some connection issues because a couple people dropped out knowing that they would be next. So we'll see. But we'll give Gammon a second to come back in. I'm glad Melissa's calling in. I'm excited to talk to her. I haven't talked to her in a minute. So we'll see how she's doing as well. Let's add Gammon back and see what we got. What's up, brother?
Not too much. Are we doing better?
Much better.
Okay, great. Before I kind of go on to what I was going to go on, I was just listening to a couple of callers, and I'm noticing kind of a running theme as I'm kind of hopping back between different content. I'm going to address the Warner thing real quick. I'm going to be a quick monologue. First is I don't blame Warner for the way that he conducted himself in practice. If we win our first Super Bowl, it'll be the first one since beating the Chargers in 1994. And we'll all look back at this fondly. And also, too, I think it would be crazy. How crazy would it be, Jesse, if we ended up playing against the Chargers in a Super Bowl rematch?
That would be nuts. That would be nuts. I don't know if I want to face Herbert, though, man. That guy's really good.
Whatever, we're going to have to go against whatever team makes it out of there. Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I mean, it is deep over there. So we're going to have to go against somebody that we don't want to necessarily play, but that's just what's about to be a memorable Super Bowl. And the reason why also, too, I don't blame Warner for the way that he acted is because I already saw one Hall of Fame linebacker in Patrick Willis not get a Lombardi, which I really want him to see him get. And Warner has a legacy to get and to earn. And I really look back at Michael Jordan. If you want the brass, you have to push players on your team, and sometimes to an insane level. Guys are different. fights bring us together, ironically. Just look at Steve Kerr, right? The other thing too is I want to talk about the center position. We have a couple options to upgrade our center position. 49ers, right? If we use the 49ers as an example, we are overloaded with talent at the running back and defensive line positions that we are praying we can stash on the practice squad. Other teams have the same blessing, but at different positions. Beauty of preseason is that we can try to poach players off other teams, just like the Seahawks do to us every year. So that the timeline for that, right, is going to be like August 30th during the big roster cut down, when teams have to go from 80 to a 53-man roster and start designating players to their practice squad. And then that's when NFL teams can start putting in claims to players on the waiver wire. And then August 31st is when teams can start designating their players to the PUP, right? IR and designate to return. But then I know a lot of people bring up JC Tretter, so I'm trying to go quick here. A lot of people try to bring up JC Tretter, and I get why everyone's kind of looking at him and they like him, right? They assume there's kind of a glove-like fit with Tretter. They think that he's durable because he hasn't missed a game technically due to injury since 2016, but it's not quite the way that it looks. But he is consistent, and a lot of people see him as a scheme fit because he played in the Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski's system, which is kind of similar. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I'm looking at, right, is his career, right? He kind of maintained the PF grade in low to mid 80s as a pass protector and a 70-75 as a run blocker. And there's really two obstacles the 49ers have to overcome for this to work. One is financial. One is that the other teams are competing for a service. Like, we're not the only team that needs a center. And the other teams that you're looking at that are competing for services are the Vikings, Panthers, and Dolphins. And I find it really interesting that you look at the Vikings have one of the old, front office people there from the Browns, and he's not actively going out and getting JC Tretter. And then you have Baker Mayfield, who was taking snaps from center from JC Tretter, who's not working away to get him onto the Panthers. And then you have the Dolphins, who really, really need Talanoa Hufanga, oh my gosh. They really need Tua to have as great of a season as he can. And those guys all have more money, more assets than the 49ers do. Also, too, if you look at it, the amount of money, I kind of figured it out with if you did the void years, if you gave him a 3-year contract, but 4 or 5 year void option, right? We're looking at a signing of about $3.39 million. And what I kind of used this on was a 3.9 against the salary cap. And what I used this on was I looked at 2 players for compensation, his peers. So Ryan Jensen, the 3-year, $39 million deal that he got from the Bucks, and Rodney Hudson, the 3-year, $30 million that he got from the Cards. And JC Tretter, his track record, he's going to want and deserves more money than that, and he knows his worth. But that's just my quick little diatribe on that. But what I really want to do was just ask you a couple quick questions. Number one is
before you get to the questions, I do want to comment on what you just said. Okay. I like what you said, and let's also throw the Bucks into that. Let's not forget that they've just lost their center as well in practice, like one of the first practices. And JC Tretter also, we have to keep in mind, is the leader of the players union, which means he has to kind of set the tone when it comes to contracts, right? And the NFL is starting to make this push towards guaranteed contracts. Well, this is a guy that doesn't practice. We know that. Plays, which is great. But if he does have degenerative knees, how long can he do that? And if he's going to want guaranteed money, that's a risk, right? And so I understand that. I think JC Tretter is a name that comes up a lot. I would love to have JC Tretter, but I would love to have JC Tretter at a bargain price, right? I don't want to pay him the kind of money that you're talking about, especially if it comes a long-term thing. That's where I have the issue. There are other guys out there, and we'll see when cuts happen, but I like your point on that. But yeah, go ahead. Ask your few questions here.
Okay. Have you noticed that most people who cover the 49ers have a beard? Is this 49ers Illuminati, and what made you join?
Oh, it is 49ers Illuminati. the benefits are just too damn good, man. The benefits are too good. You got to remember, I'm out of market, so like getting the 49er games for free, that was worth it for me. Yeah,
absolutely. And then so special teams, right? They help with field position. Last year, 49ers ranked near the bottom with special teams field position. Is this the year that we see the return of the Tony Montana squad?
Oh God, I love the Tony Montana squad. Oh my gosh, I wish. I would say we definitely could for sure. This special team should be pretty good. They certainly upgraded not only the players but the coaching positions. I think this is going to be by far the best special teams that we've had during the Shanahan Lynch era. But man, that Tony Montana squad was special. So I don't think it'll be quite that good.
Right, and then continuing with the special teams theme, Mitch Wishnowsky, right, drafted him in the 4th round. Will this be the year finally where they give him a designated kind of Aussie run fake punt play this year?
It's funny because that was like one of the big things, right? Like, oh, he can also throw and run a little bit. He's athletic, because he hasn't been the best punter, that's for sure. Yeah, I think this is the year. I think we're gonna get a couple fakes out of him for sure. Let's see that cannon and let's see those wheels. Let's see them.
Absolutely. And then last 2 questions, I'll make these quick. So there's been a statistic that Trey Lance has thrown 83 passes. Out of those 83 pass attempts, 55 have hit the hands of a wide receiver. Out of those 55, 12 have been dropped, giving us a drop rate of 21.8% of catchable passes. Last season, the 49ers wide receivers started off slow out of the gates, and their ability to start catching the passes continually grew as stronger as a unit as the season went on. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being none, 10 being we're doomed, how concerned should we as 49ers be?
Oh man, I'm gonna put it at a 5, which is a bit of a cop out, but let me explain this real quick. So I think we should expect drops. I just think that that's the way that this receiver unit is for some reason. I think Debo's probably always in a battle drops. I think that Jennings may be iffy as well, and we've even seen Ayuk and Kittle have a little bit of this pattern. I think that certain players just struggle with this for whatever reason, and I don't think that Trey Lance throwing at the pace that he does helps anything. So I do expect there to be drops, but I'm not worried about it being a reason why they lose games, right? Or lose big games. I expect them. I think Shanahan probably expects them, and it's something they're going to have to work through. I think ultimately they'll be okay, though.
All right, and then for my last question, which I'm going to hop off here, but this question is for you to answer, and then for the next caller that's coming on. Okay, so I'm gonna exit off stage with this one. For both of you. And each of you have to give different answers. Name one surprise player on offense and defense that won't make the team. Key word here is surprise.
Dang. One surprise player on offense and defense that won't make the team. Okay, I'm going to bring on Melissa, and then we're going to go to Bryant. So, Melissa, you're the one that has to also answer this question with me. One surprise offensive and defensive player that will not make the team. Let's see if we can do this. What's up, Melissa? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Do you have the answer that he seeks on this one?
My surprise answer would be Colton McKivitz.
Oh. Okay.
And my surprise answer would be for defense. Defense is hard. Demetrius fucking fouls.
Oh, I like that one. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, my defensive one's not going to be that good. Okay, that's tough. Okay. So for offense, I'm going to go Jeff Wilson Jr.
That's an easy one.
For defense, I don't know. Because I was talking. The reason it's a surprise to me is because I was just talking with Jack, and Jack is pretty firm that he's going to make the team. So we'll see. So I'm going to go Jeff Wilson Jr. And Defense. It's gonna have to be somebody on that defensive line. I'll go Kerry Hyder. I'll say Kerry Hyder doesn't make it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that because I really love Kerry Hyder, but that's just me.
I like Kerry Hyder too. Hopefully he does make it, but that's we got to be a little bold here. So hopefully
it's
we
not
answered the
just that
question.
he had the sack numbers. It's just like 2020 was so bad. 'Cause, Twitter was toxic, and it was like my first year I really got to know the faithful because of nothing but Niners. So that was not fun for me. So I kind of latched on to all the players I fell in love with that kind of carried the 2020 season for me. So for me, Kevin Givens and Kerry Hyder and Jordan Willis, and they all have like really, really special places in my heart. And they made that defense fun with Fred Warner when he became an All-Pro. So when people just automatically dismiss them for like a Maurice Hurst or D Ford, or we should keep these guys instead because of name recognition, it's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other thing too is he has a motor, and he's had 2 pretty damn good seasons in the NFL. One was with the Lions, one was with San Francisco. Both of them, the theme is that Kocurek was his coach, his defensive line coach. So for whatever reason, those two click together. He gets the best out of Hyder and Kocurek, and I would expect that if he's on this team, that he would have another pretty damn good year.
Okay, so I gotta ask, since you mentioned Jeff Wilson Jr., is it because you think that they need another veteran in the running back room because everybody else is so young? Because they still technically have juice, don't they?
They do. They have juice. Yeah. Jeff Wilson is. I just like what he brings to the team, if healthy. That's the biggest thing. Is I don't know. It sounds like his explosion may or may not be there, depending on who you ask. And I cannot get 2 games out of my head. One against the Patriots in 2020, where he went
National
crazy.
Tight Ends Day, yes.
Yeah, yes. And then the other one is against Arizona, where he had the big catch, over the middle.
I haven't played at all, pretty much all year, and I come in for one snap last second. I wasn't even supposed to be the original running back. They stunned me last second, and I had the big touchdown and 0 blitz.
That's right. That's the one. So there you go. Yeah. It is hard to get those out of my mind. So, I would love to have Wilson on this team. That Wilson.
I love about Jeff Wilson Jr. is that he's not a diva. He's not like someone who's going to complain about his snap count. He's not going to complain about doing the hard runs. He's not going to complain about being stuffed 5 yards behind the line. He's not going to complain about getting 2.5 yards or getting the big runs. You just like those team guys. But at the end of the day, he's been banged up a lot, and with everybody else that's coming in, like the Trey Sermons, the TDPs, and everything else, and John Chapman's been talking up Jordan Mason like crazy. I don't know. I kind of want to go younger. I mean, y'all waited and hoped Raheem Mostert had more than one healthy year, and he never did. So, you kind of want the vet, but you also don't want the vet because you kind of know it's not going to always work out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think running back it's a young man's position for sure. Yeah. The interesting thing about Jeff Wilson Jr. is he doesn't have a lot of mileage, but his body is starting to break down like he does have a lot of mileage. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And you're right. I mean, Mason sounds every bit the part to be that young guy to come in and take a spot for sure.
So what do you think of the potential for Hasty to be either traded or cut? Because I think that Kyle really doesn't have a doghouse, and I keep rewatching the old games from last year. And I don't know if you remember this, but when we faced Atlanta, very first snap on special teams, Hasty, and he dropped the ball in the 12 yards to the end zone, and it was Atlanta ball right away. And I'm like, yeah. Then I'm thinking about 2020, and I'm like, it feels a lot like Matt Breida. There was the special plays, but then there were so many times that you couldn't trust them. And he has injuries. It's just I think if anyone's the sure man out, it's Hasty.
Yeah, I would think that too. But the thing with Hasty is that it seems like Shanahan does like him for whatever reason, and he is more of a pure third down back compared to some of these other guys. I actually would like Juszczyk to be the third down back, though. I really would, because I trust his blocking skills.
I can't. Nope.
You can't? No?
Nope.
Why?
Nope. I hate 44. I hate him with passion.
Why? Really?
Okay. To make this simple,
I gotta hear this story.
I blame 44 for the very reason why we've never, ever, ever, ever invested in the center. Now, you're going to ask me why. Fullback and center, they're nothing in common, right? Except for this team, Kyle Juszczyk, over the last couple of years, calls out the protections at the line. He calls out the changes. He calls out the different defenses. He is the one that bails out the quarterback. And yes, Alex Max did some of it last year, but for 2020, when everybody else was down, it was all Kyle Juszczyk. And Jimmy wasn't like the greatest book guy. You know, he didn't really study the book. He didn't really call out different formations. He could never see the linebackers. So they rely on Kyle Juszczyk for that. So for me, I always feel like we can't move on to Josh Hockett, who we have waiting in the rings, who clearly wants to be a Niner and clearly to start this team. You can't really default the center because we're paying all this money to Kyle Juszczyk, and Kyle Juszczyk kind of owns all the offense. He is the supreme defender. He's the supreme blocker. He calls out all the plays. So it's just like, at the end of the day, I kind of want to move on from Kyle Juszczyk, and it's just like everyone can't let him go. And I will never forgive him for the Green Bay game. Ever. ever.
Oh, man.
A yard and a half, and you go on two quarterback sneaks, and you get stuffed. And everyone after that keeps going and going, why doesn't he get more snaps as a running back? Why doesn't he get more snaps? He's an offensive weapon. I was just like, do you know how much shit I had to deal with from my brother, who is an obnoxious cheesehead? And he rubbed the COVID bowl in my face. He rubbed the week 3 game in my face for like 2 straight years. It was nothing but trash and noise. And it's just like, Kyle Juszczyk, I hate you so much.
Wow, the hate is real with Kyle. Listen, I got to give you some credit, because you definitely backed up your reason why. I understand your reasoning. I don't agree with it, but I do understand it. I get it.
People think I'm crazy, but I don't push my views on anyone. It's just, it's crazy that all the people who love him try to force me to say, like, I love him too, or like, he's essential. Like, if you trained up a center, if you actually believed in the mythos of the Shanahan offense being predicated on the center being the most important part of the offensive line, then why have we never invested in it? You have Weston Richburg from the Giants, couldn't stay healthy. You have Ben Garland, couldn't stay healthy. You had Alex Mack, couldn't stay healthy. The very favorite right now, to a lot of people, Daniel Brunskill, who was the emergency center, who didn't do great, but didn't do bad, but should really not be center. So at the end of the day, something has to give. And for me, I'd rather have Josh Hockey get his shot and me to move on and invest that kind of money that we're paying Kyle Juszczyk on guys like Bosa and maybe one of our linebackers, whether it's Aziz or Dre, whoever's your favorite. But that's just my 2 cents. I hold a grudge, and I hold it strong.
Listen, I love the passion. Melissa, it's been way too long. I'm glad that you're back to tuning into the show.
You have always been on the same night as John, and I always feel guilty because I'm like, I rewatch your show, but I can never really participate. And it's just like, the one night that I could watch your show was the one night that they didn't have a show, and it was like when you were teasing me for picking the Lions to win as the dark horse for the North, and I'm like, it's not such a dark horse for the North. Like, if you really think about it.
I know.
Darius Smith has the back injury, right?
Yeah.
Neil Hunter cannot stay healthy to save his life.
Right.
Kirk Cousins barely just signed back for a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting an entire whole new team. New front office, new everything. The Bears, I think, are the absolute joke of the North. And I hate that because I like Justin Fields and we share a birthday. So, but they have no receivers. Their receiver is Equanimeous St. Brown, and he flamed out of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
And it's just like the Lions are good. Like people forget how good they were against the Niners week 1 last year. TJ Hawkinson is a great tight end. Swift is a great running back, and they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is like a legitimate underrated and underappreciated receiver. I'm not gonna say like they're gonna like do great or like own the playoffs or anything like that, but as for the like the North itself, and then you have all these reports where, and I've said this on your podcast, I've said it everywhere. I hate Aaron Rodgers with a passion. I never want him traded here, but he's proving why I didn't like Aaron Rodgers. Like he refuses to work with Amari Rodgers. He refuses to work with the rookie receivers, and now he doesn't even have the excuse of Devontae Adams to lean on because Devontae Adams is now a Vegas Raider. So
yeah, that whole situation is going to be interesting. Their defense is really
and then,
good. I expect them to run the ball a ton too.
Alan Lazard, did he ever sign his thinger? I know he was
Who?
holding out. Alan Lazard.
I don't know. I haven't paid any attention to Green Bay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
What do you think about Christian Watson, though?
He was with Trey Lance, so that was fun, but I don't know if he's gonna be featured at all. Because, like I said, Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to train up anybody. I want to show you this real quick. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah. I like that.
It says San Francisco on it.
That is sick.
Yeah, so John sent me this for supporting his show and always tweeting about them.
Filthy.
So it's Boba, it's Darth Vader, and it's a stormtrooper, and then it says San Francisco 49ers underneath.
Yeah, that's pretty filthy. I like that. Is that a sweatshirt or is it a?
Yeah, it's a hoodie.
It's a hoodie. Okay, all right. That's super dope. I like that. That's clean.
Yeah, it was on Fanatics. It's like he's like, pick anything you want, and I'm like, okay, hoodies have to be the cheapest thing besides a t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Do you know there were over 25 hoodies that were more expensive than jerseys?
Oh, I'm sure hoodies
are more expensive
joke.
than jerseys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah. No,
crazy.
Listen, hoodies. The hoodie game is strong. I got a hoodie. I got a hoodie that matches one of my hats, and it was no joke. I was shocked at how expensive it was. Melissa, thank you for calling in.
Can I ask you one last question real quick?
Up. Of course, go ahead.
Okay. So you live in Florida, and we all know the news that just broke out about Miami losing a first-round pick, and it being pertaining to Tom Brady and that whole owner thing that was a story for a while. Was it big in Tampa, since Tom Brady is technically still the quarterback there, or do you guys not hear trash about Brady because he's the Super Bowl winning
will not
quarterback?
They'll never say a bad thing about Brady here. It wasn't even a blip on the radar on the sports news.
You have a good night, Jesse.
All right, you too. Later.
Bye.
All right, let's see if we can get to Bryant. He's been waiting so patiently, and he's been in and out. So I don't know if it's a StreamYard thing or if he, just had to go in and out. Hopefully this works for him. What's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
Hey, Jesse. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for being patient. Are you having some issues backstage, or you just had to jump in and out and take care of some things?
Honestly, I don't know. When I call your show, I can't get in very often. I've only been able to talk to you once or twice. And I always need to call in, and the StreamYard will keep popping me out. I call into other people's shows, and I don't know. I seem to get in with them, but I just get bumped out with your show, and I try to come back, and I try to keep coming back, and then that's why I support you. I try to see you with other shows, and I like you on Twitter and stuff, and appreciate the content a whole lot. But I just really do have a hard time getting in. So
yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I've had some issues with StreamYard. Side note, I think I'm gonna be making a change here soon. We'll see. I'm in talks with another up and coming company, so we'll see how that goes. But StreamYard's been giving me a heck of a time, man. So that's interesting. All right.
Maybe it's my phone. I got an Android, but it seems to work other times, so I don't know. But
I don't think that's it.
I wanted to call in and ask you really one thing. And one of the things I was talking to Rombo about last night, and I know you got a lot of information, so maybe you got a better perspective of this. We seem to get injured a whole lot, the Niners, and they just can't get over this injury bug. And they brought in a hockey training staff and they're still there as far as I know. Now, the players still get hurt, and I know other teams, everybody gets hurt in football. I played football in high school, it happens. But for us to keep getting hurt the way we're getting hurt, do you think this is like something that they're doing? They're not stretching right, or they were not going enough at practice? Because I know back in the 90s and stuff, they used to practice a lot more. I'm from Stockton. I used to go to the training camp here at UOP. We used to see Jeff Garcia, T.O. I was there at like 3-day practices. So I don't know. I know they're trying to keep players healthy and safe from, like they changed the touchdowns, the kickoffs. They've done a lot of things with tackling. Helmets have changed, but we still keep getting injuries. And most importantly, it's ACL injuries or torn biceps.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's an interesting observation. And I know this was a hot topic last year. A lot of us were worried about Verrett because of that. They put a lot of stock into Verrett, and we saw what happened there. It's interesting, and I can't say for sure if this is it. And I don't know if it changed last year, but I know prior to last year for sure, Shanahan was a little bit different than some of the other coaches. So I'll give an example. When Harbaugh was here, they would go tough early. Like practices were tough, and they got bodies ready for taking hits and getting ready for the season. And then as the season progressed, he would kind of ramp it down, knowing that players need rest and you only get one bye week and what have you. Well, Shanahan kind of does the opposite. He eases into things, and then as the season wears, he actually gets tougher in practice, which is an interesting approach. Probably not the approach that I would take. I tend to like the other approach better. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but yeah, I mean, the 49ers have been one of the most injured teams in the league for a few years running. 2020 was record breaking. Obviously, COVID played a part in that as well, but I would say this too. I think I do know something that does factor into it. When you draft the players that Shanahan does, and I mean that in two different ways. One, guys that do have some injury history, right? And then you expect that they're going to get healthy. I think that's a weird thing to expect. But two, he drafts guys that are true football players, guys that like to hit, guys that like to get after it. Debo's a great example of that. And I'm not calling him injury prone, but I mean, I cannot get this play out of my head where it was against Arizona, the first game last year. He caught a pass from Trey Lance, and he had an opportunity to go out of bounds, should have gone out of bounds, and decided to stay in bounds, lower his shoulder, and pop the corner. It's like, man, why are we doing this? Like, is that really necessary? Now, obviously, he didn't get hurt or anything like that, but those are the types of players that they're bringing in, guys that look for contact, guys that seek contact, and guys that have injury history. And I think that plays a part in it as well.
I agree. I think they are going after aggressive players like Reuben Foster. He would just torpedo, he would just launch his body at people. But I think they might just go down to a little bit more. Maybe they're not quite stretching out the right way, or maybe they're lifting too much in the weight room or something, because these guys are tearing ACLs and biceps. And though, I don't know. I know everybody needs to learn how to tackle and they need to do it safely and stuff. But when you have a hockey mentality, you would think that would be aggressive. These guys are on ice skates and they're skating around fast and they get injuries too. And I just don't. I would like to see the injuries stop, because we can't go anywhere if we keep getting injured. We would have won the Super Bowl this year if Trent Williams would have been healthy, if Jimmy everybody healthy right there. We were stacked, but at the end of the game, you seen they pulled Debo out too. Why did they pull Debo out? Did they want to save him in case we did win the game, or did he say something on the sidelines and Shanahan say, "Hey, we're going to win without you"? I know he was crying on the sidelines, but to pull him out at the end of the game, I just don't understand that. Thanks for having me on, Jesse. I'll try to call in again. I'll refresh my phone and everything, and I'll catch you on Twitter too. And I hope you got my message. If you do need to reach out to me, there's several ways. So
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bryant. You have a good one, brother.
You too.
All right, man. All right. Thank you, Bryant, for calling in. Glad you were able to get through. You're having a heck of a time for sure. StreamYard, I don't know what the deal is, but the injury thing is, I mean, trust me, man, we all want the injury bug to go away. And I think you bring up a good point. The Rams, right? I mean, their stars aren't missing a ton of games. What are they doing different? If anything, right? Sometimes it's just dumb luck. So I don't know, man. It's certainly something that I wish they could get under control, and I don't even know if it's something that they can do to fix. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. So we're gonna go Swan Song and then Eric. What up, Swan Song? How you doing, man?
So Jesse, okay, I got two things. The first thing is about Harbaugh. I mean, that that Harbaugh team imploded at the end with injuries as well. You remember that? And Justin Smith tore a tricep or bicep. The Bowman thing was freaky, obviously, and then Willis had that foot injury. But I think it's what you say is how they draft, and the D Ford thing scared everyone away, and that's why I don't understand you and Gammon wanting JC Treader, because that's like D Ford 2.0 potentially. But
yeah, it definitely is.
If you can get him cheap, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? But that's what I wanted to bring up, because at the end of Crocker's show, I don't know, like 2 mornings ago, Gammon was going to finish up with Treader, but his time ran up, so he politely took off. So I took the baton because I was the next caller, and I said, hey, I'll finish up what I thought Gammon was going to say, right? And that JC Treader, I think if you read between the lines, if it's not a money thing, right? And if it's a thing about money, then I can understand why he's still on the market, right? But if it's not about the money, like Kwesi, the GM for the Minnesota Vikings now, right? He came from Cleveland, right? Where, of course, he knows JC Treader, right? And the Vikings are still in need of a center, right? Because the center that they draft is not working out. He's a bust. All the fans don't like it. They've been screaming, like all the content creators have been screaming for JC Treader, right? But of course, 4 months has passed by and still not on the team, right? I mean, JC Treader, I know he played at a Pro Bowl caliber level, right? He was like, I guess, the 7th best center in the league or something like that. His PFF grade's really high. It's like 79 or something. He's
especially in pass blocking.
Yeah. Like he's elite in pass blocking. He's a good run blocker, smart, everything, right? It sounds great. And sure, he can probably get away with, not practicing with the Browns because he's been on that team for a while. So, all the players have played with him. The quarterbacks played with him. Like they all, you know what I mean? They don't really need to learn about him, right? But how would that look if he can't practice and he has a first-year starting quarterback in Trey Lance, a first-year starting left guard in Aaron Banks, and a rookie at right guard? I mean, if any position needs to practice all the time, it would be that, right? It'd be that center. So that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, and then you add on top of that the Bucks, right? When they lost Ryan Jansen, right? You would think they'd be calling for JC Treader as well. Still, he sits on the free agent market. So yes, it could be a money thing. Like I get what you're saying, that he is like the head of the players union or whatever. And maybe it's for him, it's smart that he just waits until someone gets desperate enough, right? Because some of these teams, they have time, right? Because it's camp, right? So they're not really that desperate, right? But come week 1, when that center that they have playing, where they're like, oh, that guy's not it, then he's probably going to get some type of money. But like, if the 49ers got him, I would trust that he could practice, right? But imagine if the 49ers got him and they said, well, we're still working Treader in, blah, blah, blah. And sure, if it was cheap, yeah, put him on the roster, put him on the pup. I don't mind that. If it was cheap, do it now. Well, I guess they would have to wait until Jimmy is gone, right? But other than that, if it was for a lot of money and he couldn't practice, that would be a disaster. And I don't see them doing something like that. I think they've been ridiculed enough, right? I'm pretty sure, they self-scout themselves about, the injury stuff, and adding Treader would just be, like I said, 2.0 if it's a high salary. T4 2.0.
I would say with Treader too, it's even less about the money, but more about the years, right? Like I don't want to be locked into a 3-year deal with Treader. I want a 1-year deal with Treader. Like
Yeah,
that's you know what I
How
mean?
old is he? Yeah, how old is he?
I don't think he's that old, but if he's got
Yeah,
knees that are
degenerate knee.
shot,
Right,
I don't
right.
want to be stuck with that
Yeah,
long
because
term.
we're gonna be playing this center carousel that we've been doing. Every other year there's a new center,
Right.
and it's
Right.
it's like ridiculous. That's why how many mock drafts were made where someone picked the center, right? Like in everyone's mock draft, the center was picked no later than the third round, right?
Yeah, of
No later
course.
than the third round. And
Yeah.
I know like what the Patriots did kind of messed us up, right? Like when the Pats picked Cole Strange in the first round, that kind of just blew our chances of getting a possible starter at center. So I think at that point the Niners were like, well, this the center that we could get, before Jackson is probably not much better than what we can get in the later rounds, right? So let's get Drake Jackson. So I could see how that could happen. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
for
crossing my
sure.
fingers. I'm crossing my fingers. If they get JC Tretter, that tells me that he probably can practice, and I would be excited. But like, if it's not the case, then I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be very mad.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, before you go, I have a question for you actually.
Yeah,
I saw I saw on Twitter that you had put together a pretty dope picture. Are you into graphic design and stuff?
I'm a software engineer by trade, but I've always
Mhm.
dabbled in Photoshop, and I'm also a photographer. So,
I
you
saw
know,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm not an expert, but like I can put up a YouTube and watch a tutorial and then do and recreate pretty much
Gotcha.
what I want to do. That's the beauty of YouTube, right? Anything you want to create, anything you want to mimic, put it on YouTube, and I guarantee you there won't be one. There'll be 10 tutorials,
Oh, yeah.
step by step process of how to recreate an image. But yeah, why do you ask?
No, I
Oh,
just I didn't know
oh,
that about you. I didn't
yeah,
know that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I actually saw the picture thing today. What's the website at Flickr or something like that? I went to it,
Oh,
and those
right on.
pictures were what is it?
It's Flickr. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Swan Song. I don't even know the whole my address. I don't know if it's SWNSNG. I think it's Swan Song without the vowels. But yeah, I
Yeah.
did that. I mean, I haven't done it now. I pretty much take pictures because I did wildlife, landscape, everything, right? Portraits. And lately, it's just been friends or my neighbors going, "Hey, can you take my kids' graduation pictures?" Or things like that. Now, of
Yeah.
course, I say yes and things, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, the pictures were extremely impressive. I mean,
Thanks,
holy
man.
moly. So I didn't know those things about you, right? The like you and I talk quite a bit and you're always in the show, you're super supportive, but like I think people learn quite a bit about me just if you watch enough. And I don't get to learn a lot about you guys. And so I was just genuinely interested in what you got going on. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I had to
Thanks,
ask
man.
you about
Yeah,
it.
you're the first one that just brought that up to me because I've had it on my Twitter thing, but I get once in a while. I was like, "Oh, dude, those are dope pictures." But like people in Grant's Discord know, but like
Yeah.
I appreciate that you brought that up and that that you like it. It's very cool.
Yeah, no, those super dope pictures. I want to get to this because Gammon wanted to address you real quick before I let you go and get over to Eric. He says Swan Song during the regular season. Will you help me troll Jesse? He thinks that you guys could be a powerful duo like Debo and IU.
Hey, if Jesse deserves it for sure, Gavin.
Yeah, Swan Song is definitely not shy to troll me for sure. So yeah, I agree. You guys would be powerful duo, absolutely. So I look forward to that one. I'm sure I'll say something stupid and then I'll deserve it. But
No,
all
hey,
right, brother. Hey, thanks for
you're-
calling in and thanks for supporting like always, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me, Jesse.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too.
Love Swan Song, man. He's such a good dude. So Gammon had that one, and then Joseph had this one. He says Arden Key is playing pretty good in the preseason today. Would be good if the Niners had kept him with our bad luck of injuries. Yeah, especially the interior defensive line. But I do think Amenahu's going to really fill in that role, and I think um, I could see. I think the scenario on third down is best case scenario is Bosa, Amenahu, Armstead, and probably Jackson. I think those four. I think they're going to force a lot of turnovers or help the secondary force a lot of turnovers because I think those four are really going to get after the quarterback in a big, big way. Let me show you guys some love, and then we're going to round out the show here with Eric. Make sure you stick around, though, because Eric's always got something interesting to say. So let me show you love first, and then we'll put the pressure on Eric and see what he's got. Appreciate the donation, guys. And let me before I bring on Eric, I want to talk about some of the things he said in the past. First of all, this is a guy that said we should start a GoFundMe for Jimmy Garoppolo and send him into space so that they don't have to pay him. That is one of the things he said. One of the things actually that he said that wasn't funny, but it was a great point. And I'll never forget it. And he put me together really, really good with it. I like it because not a lot of people can put me together, and he strung me along really good. And he basically went on this whole long thing with Trent Williams and, what players are drafted highest in the draft, what positions did they play, and what positions are paid the most. And then basically dropped on me that Trent Williams should be the league MVP. And I thought it was a hell of an argument. So I always like when Eric calls in. Let's see what he has to say tonight. I think it's a great way to end the show here. What's up, bro? How are you?
Hey, what's up, Jesse? How are you?
Doing good, man. How you been?
Good. I've actually been busy.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. I noticed Swan Song said he has a secret passion for graphic design, and it's kind of similar. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I actually have a secret passion as well.
What's that?
Well, I applied recently. I applied online, and this is why I've been too busy to call in lately. I've been studying. I applied online for my certification to become a preacher, and it was accepted. So I am now officially the newest preacher in the Church of the 49ers. And I would like to say that to begin today's service, we are gathered here today to pay our last respects to James Edward Garoppolo. It was nice while it lasted. We will miss you a little bit, but, not really. So, God be with you, Jimmy G, because, hopefully you're not with us.
Oh, God. Yeah. See, you did it again. You put me together. Hey, Eric, I know that before you came on, you're like, hopefully the audio is good because your audio is always iffy. Again, StreamYard, jump out, jump back in. Let's see if we can get it fixed because you got that cutout thing again.
All right. Yeah. Give me a second.
All right, bro. Oh, my gosh. Told you he wouldn't disappoint. He would not disappoint. And he does it, man. The funny thing is about him, too, it's his dry humor. I obviously can see him, and he is very straight-faced about the whole thing. So you don't know if he's being serious, and you don't want to laugh because if he's being serious, you don't want to be that guy. Usually he's not, though. So good credit to you for sure. Eric, let me throw it in real quick. Hold on. Let's do this. Let me grab it for you. Eric only. I'm going to end the show after Eric here. Oops. All right. There you go, Eric. It should be there for you now. I think it might have went through twice. There we go. All right. See if this works. All right, go ahead and talk.
All right, how's it sound now?
Way better.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm not really a preacher. I was just kidding about that. I just wanted to pay my last respects to Jimmy Garoppolo now that finally Kyle Shanahan has given it some closure and said that Trey Lance is the definitive starter. Now we can move on because, honestly, until he said that, there was a lot of chatter about, why is Jimmy still on the roster? Maybe Trey Lance needs another year to sit. Like, no, he doesn't need another year to sit. That's crazy. Are you when you're going for your driver's license, does your driving instructor say, hey, a great way to learn how to drive? Don't drive. You just sit in the corner and that will make you a better driver. Like, no. At some point you got to get behind the wheel and yeah, you hit a few cones along the way, you know. That's why you go on the practice course. You hit the cones so that way you don't hit the lady with the shopping cart crossing the street. You know what I mean? You get those problems out of the way in practice. This is why I know there's been a lot of talk about Trey Lance. I'll touch on it a little bit, but I think we're going to have all year to talk about Trey Lance. Honestly, at this point, to me, talking about Trey Lance at this point is kind of like on Christmas Eve when there's a couple of presents under the tree and you're talking to your brothers and sisters and you're like, oh, I wonder what I got. And your brother says, oh, it's probably something, it's probably not any good. And your sister goes, oh, no, it's probably really good. And you're sitting there like, well, I don't know. It's in wrapping paper. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? So at this point, I mean, I'm optimistic about Trey Lance, but we just haven't seen enough out of him. And especially for people to come out with these like definitively negative takes about how, oh, Trey Lance is going to be a bust. It's like, dude, he started 2 games in the NFL. I mean, come on, man. I've brought up the Peyton Manning example before, but in Peyton Manning's rookie season, he threw 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. The Colts went 3-13 in his rookie season. That's over the course of an entire year, not just 2 starts. So, you know, hopefully with Trey Lance, people will be a little patient. I think when you're judging Trey Lance, you got to use a different set of metrics because he's not a dink and dunk quarterback. So I'm not really looking at his completion percentage. I'm looking at touchdown interception ratio. Can he limit the turnovers? And I'm looking at yards per attempt. That's what I want to see because if the yards per attempt are high enough, you can complete 50% of your passes as long as every other pass is a first down. Then who cares at that point? You're moving the chains, you're scoring points. So, you know, I think people are trying to jump the gun a little bit on Trey Lance at this point. Honestly, I'm really excited for the defense. I think, you know, for years, a lot of us have been saying, like, man, if we had like a true number 1 cornerback, that would really round out this defense. I mean, the linebacking core. I mean, do we even really need to talk about it? They're the best linebackers in the league. I don't even see how anyone can argue that at this point. You look at the defensive line, insane. You know, Nick Bosa, one of the best edge rushers in the league. Eric Armstead is great. They got depth everywhere else. You know what I mean? So it's really mostly been the secondary. Jimmy Ward's a solid player. So now you're looking at the cornerbacks. And I think a lot of us, me especially, have been looking at it for a while. Like, man, if we had a true shutdown corner, that would open up so much because now, like, having an excellent defensive line allows you to get pressure without blitzing, right? It's the Giants really set the template when they, you know, beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. They had a dominant defensive line. If you can get a pass rush, you can drop all those other players back into coverage. But it works the other way too. If you have a great secondary, you can afford to blitz because now your corners can actually cover for a few seconds and you can play man coverage. So I think that we're getting close to a point where the defense is kind of the best of both worlds. You're going to have that great pass rush, so you don't need to blitz, but you can blitz because you can put Charvarius Ward on the team's number 1 receiver. Actually, I was watching Eric Crocker the other day. I thought he made a great point. He was saying if it was up to him, he would put Ward on every team's number 2 receiver, just lock them down, take them out of the game completely, and then bracket coverage with Mosley and Ward on the number 1 receivers. But I mean,
that's a hell of an idea. I actually really like that. Real quick, Spin, I see that you're waiting backstage. I'm actually going to end it here with Eric, so I don't want to make you wait anymore. Every Thursday, we're getting back to the call-in show, though, brother. So make sure that you call in earlier next week. We'll get to you. I'll put you at the front of the line if I can. All right, man. I appreciate you always for supporting as well, but I don't want to make you wait. Yeah, man. I think that's a great point by Eric, and I mean that'll work. That'll work. And you're right. I mean, getting pressure on the quarterback has not been a problem. But if you remember last year, really what killed them was 3rd down and long. They would get themselves in a great position, create 3rd down and longs, and then against Tennessee, week 18 against the Rams, and then ultimately in the playoffs, they could not get off the field in 3rd and long. And, you know, that's because the secondary couldn't hold up. They had to play off coverage, give up easy passes, and then that was that. And so I'm curious to see. I think 3rd down this year, I think 3rd down could be the money down for the 49ers. I think they can create a lot of turnovers because now they're going to have the corners to come up, be able to play press man, force some bad throws, And with the defensive line bearing down, I think it could get really ugly for quarterbacks on third down.
Yeah, absolutely. And the addition of Ward, it slides everyone else one spot down the depth chart too. Now you got Mosley as the number 2 corner instead of, needing a guy like Ambry Thomas to be one of your 2 starting, outside corners. Now he's a depth piece. If he steps up, great. We'll see how that goes. So that's what I'm really excited about. I think at this point, it's a little too early to have like an accurate assessment of Trey Lance, but Charvarius Ward has been in the league long enough where he's established that he's a good man corner. And with this team, like I said, with this defense, I'm really excited. I think that's the missing piece that a lot of us have been looking for. I would have preferred J.C. Jackson just because of the turnover element. But from what I hear, Ward has been getting some turnovers in practice. So, I think that's a really good addition. But one other thing I wanted to do, I don't know if you have enough time for this. I wanted to throw out a few predictions for this upcoming season. I wanted to get it on record before the season starts. That way, after the season, I can go back and be like, "Hey, look at how right I was." So, all right, a couple. I think some of these might be obvious to some people, but I got a couple. One especially that I think is going to be a little bit under the radar. All right, so we're going to start in the AFC. AFC West. I think that's the Chargers. Easy. I don't think it's really that close. I think there's been a lot of talk about, the Raiders and the Broncos and the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are a really good team. They're established. They're a really good team. They lost Tyreek Hill. They lost Charvarius Ward. You know what I mean? And, they got beaten last year. So, I don't know if the Chiefs are head and shoulders above the Chargers. I think they're the strongest competition in that division for the Chargers. But to me, the Chargers, they're the biggest sleeping giant from the entire offseason. All these other teams getting all this press. The Broncos got Russell Wilson. Yeah, good for you. Congratulations. How much has Russell Wilson won in the last 10 years with a team? And Russell Wilson specifically has a very specific skill set, and that team was built around his skill set. I don't think Russell Wilson is this plug-and-play quarterback like Tom Brady, where you can put him in any system with any type of receivers, and he's going to have the same amount of success. And maybe this might sound a little slanderous, but there might be a little of the Jimmy G effect with Russell Wilson, where that team had a great defense. They had a solid running game. Was he tearing other teams apart in the passing game? Even in his prime, I don't think so. So the Broncos, I don't know about them. The Raiders, maybe they could do all right, but I really think the Chargers, to me, they look incredible. I mean, they already had Joey Bosa. Now on the other side, they have what's his name? Khalil Mack, one of, if not the best edge rusher for the last decade in the NFL.
Right.
They got him going opposite Joey Bosa now. That's kind of a big deal. And they also added J.C. Jackson, who we were going for. So you got J.C. Jackson and Derwin James back there in the secondary. Now when your pass rush gets home and the quarterback has to rush a throw, that's going to be leading to turnovers because Jackson and Derwin James can get the ball. So I think their defense is really solid. I think Justin Herbert is an ascending young quarterback. I like the pieces that they have around him on offense. I like some of the young
good offensive line too, by the way.
Good
Very
offensive.
good.
Yeah, good offensive line. They got good pieces. They got a good running back in Austin Eckler. So that's my pick in the AFC. I think that they're the biggest dark horse in the AFC. They're the team that everyone's sleeping on the most. I don't know if they're going to be the best team in the AFC, though. I think that might end up being the Bills. I just think top to bottom, they're just so talented. I mean, to me, Josh Allen, I don't know if I could say that he's in another category. He's in his own category because there's a lot of great quarterbacks in the league. But what he did in the playoffs, to me, that was an eye-opener. I mean, I don't see how you can ignore that. They didn't punt once against the New England Patriots, who, by the way, head coach Bill Belichick is a defensive mastermind. He shut down, the greatest show on turf in the Super Bowl, and he couldn't force Josh Allen and the Bills to punt the ball once. Then what did they do in their next playoff game? Josh Allen literally outdueled Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs up until 13 seconds left in the game. Without those final 13 seconds, the Bills might have won the Super Bowl last year. So I think that they're really solid. And then going to the NFC, I got a couple sleepers here. I got the Minnesota Vikings actually winning the NFC North. I know, the Packers are good. A lot of people like the Packers. I think that defense is going to fall apart without Zadarius Smith. I don't know if people remember what that defense was like before Zadarius Smith got there, but it was not good. It was It was very bad. It was one of the worst defenses in the league. And now Zadarius Smith has left the Packers. By the way, he went to the Vikings. So that's not only are you making your team stronger, but you're weakening a division rival. They also lost Devontae Adams. I mean, and, this might sound a little slanderous to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if he can carry like a bunch of, rookie and, like number 2 and 3 receivers, with a bad defense. I mean, he's good, but he also had Devontae Adams. Before that, he had Greg Jennings. He also had, I can't remember the guy's name, but Aaron Rodgers has always had a true number 1 wide receiver, and now he doesn't. So I expect the defense to be worse. I think the Vikings are a solid team. I think that they got better in the offseason. I like their running game. I think Kirk Cousins is a little underrated, and I expect the Vikings to win that division. And then the biggest under the radar sleeper that I got for you, I think that the Washington Commanders are going to win the NFC East.
Oh,
now, part of this. Now, when I say, all right, so there's 4 teams in every division, right? So when I say that the Commanders are going to win the NFC and are going to win the NFC East, another way of phrasing that would be to say that the Giants and the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to lose the NFC East. And I think that they're both, all roads lead to the same destination. I think that they're both true. I think Washington, I look at the Commanders to me, and I mean this as a compliment, not an insult, but to me, they're like the dollar store 49ers. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as a compliment. Like, I don't think that they're as good as the 49ers, but I see the blueprint of solid defensive line, get pressure on the other team's quarterback without needing to blitz. You run the ball. I like their running back. They got Terry McLaurin is like a dollar store Deebo Samuel. Carson Wentz. I'm not going to say that Carson Wentz is a top 10 quarterback, but I'm also not going to say he's a bottom 10 quarterback either. I mean, I don't know.
I'll say this about Carson. He has a top 10 skill set. He does. There's something here that's missing, but he has a top 10 skill set.
Yeah. And, that might be a problem eventually when they get to the playoffs. But, you look at the rest of that division. Is Dak Prescott really miles and really head and shoulders above him? Is, Jalen Hurts really head and shoulders above him? I just remember last year when they played the Colts in the rain and the elements, and it was a bad weather game, and it came down to which quarterback. They weren't even trying to get completions. They were just throwing the ball up and waiting for the pass interference call. But Carson Wentz at least had the ability to do that. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't even attempt to throw the ball down the field to try to bait out a pass interference call. So, I literally saw Carson Wentz last year outduel Jimmy Garoppolo in a head-to-head matchup. So I don't think he's terrible. And in the rest of that division, I don't think any of those teams are really that great. I don't put any of those quarterbacks in that division up with like the, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady category. I think the closest would be Dak Prescott. And I don't know. Honestly, would you be happy paying Dak Prescott what he's getting paid right now?
Yeah, he's borderline top 10. I think some people have him in the top 10. I have him just outside. He's cool, right? But he's cool like Kirk Cousins is cool. Derek Carr's cool, right? Like he's in that tier to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And not only that, but it's different in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you got to have it's not just about your skill set. It's about your attitude. It's about your mental toughness. I think this is one of the reasons that Aaron Rodgers hasn't been as successful in the playoffs. I think when the pressure is on, I think he starts to get a little panicked, and he says, okay, where's my number 1 wide receiver? I'm going to that guy, and that's it. And right. Dak Prescott, we saw at the end of the 49ers game in the playoffs game against the Cowboys. The guy literally tried like a QB sneak or a QB draw with 20 seconds left, no timeouts, and he's trying to spike the ball. It's like, dude, I would expect that that's a Jimmy Garoppolo level of boneheaded mistake right there. So I think that the Commanders are a little bit better than some people might be giving them credit for. I think the rest of that division, especially, the Giants, they're not going to win more than 3 games this year. Let's be honest. Even if they trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe they win 4 or 5. The Eagles have a lot of talent.
That's the team.
I just don't know, but I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts, though. I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks, especially as Niners fans. We saw a kind of similar thing happen with Colin Kaepernick when he came into the league and teams couldn't figure out how to keep him in the pocket. then he was magic. Once teams figured out how to keep him in the pocket, make him a pocket passer, all of a sudden it was a lot more difficult for him. And I'm like, if Jalen Hurts surprises me, I'll give him all the credit in the world. But from what I've seen right now, I don't know if he can consistently deliver from the pocket enough in order to consistently win. Now, one thing working on his side is they do have some good weapons on offense. They drafted Devontae Smith. They added
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. Yeah, he's a really good player. So they're a talented team. I think that I would probably put them ahead of the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the one that I think that, oh, this is America's team. They're overrated. I think a lot of it, it's almost like the 49ers, where if you put Cowboys in the headline, people are going to click on it. But the difference is the 49ers are actually good. Like the Cowboys are just beating up on a bad division. Like
right.
we had the Super Bowl champion in our division. We had the Arizona Cardinals who made the playoffs. Like our division is actually difficult, and the 49ers have still been, relatively successful in that division anyway. The Cowboys division for the last 5 years has been atrocious. I mean, it's a literal dumpster fire, and they can barely make the playoffs anyway. I mean, Dak Prescott, like the final game of the year, throws like 500 yards against the Eagles backups, and oh wow, you're an elite quarterback now. Like, I don't know. I think they're a little overrated. So
I'm gonna piggyback. I'm gonna piggyback real quick on a couple of your predictions. I agree. I actually said last year, before last season started, that it was the last year the Chiefs were going to run that division. I thought the Chargers were going to take over. That was before the Chargers went out and got some of the players that they got, and Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. So I agree. Also, I think Kansas City is not going to make the playoffs. That's my bold prediction in the AFC. I do think the Bills are going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And then the NFC East, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they win that division. I like the Washington pick. I think that's even a little bit more bold than the Eagles one. I just think the Eagles, man, they drafted so damn well and up the middle. I mean, first of all, their offensive line and defensive line are put together very, very solid there.
Yeah.
And that's how you win, is in the trenches. And then they went and made some moves to get some weapons on the outside. So I like what they did over in Philly. But I'm with you, man. Those are some bold predictions. Eric, brother, I appreciate you calling in as always. Hopefully I hear from you next week. And thanks for the sermon, man. That was a great way to start things off.
Anytime. Go forth in peace, my child.
Later, bro. All right. So we got a couple questions here. Melissa says, do you think we'll ever see the two tight end? I think they could have done it with Dwelly. I think they could have done the two tight end sets. For whatever reason, they don't want to use his skill set. And, that's interesting. I don't know. That one's interesting to me. Mike, brother, I'm going to end the show, man. I got some things that I got to go do. I know, but I said it like 20 minutes ago. If you were here, I love you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for understanding. But let me get to the next one here. 49ers Daddy says, Jesse, you're awesome. Does Lance thrive in hate? I think so. I think so a little bit. I mean, this is a kid that nobody really wanted him coming out of high school. He was given an academic scholarship to Brown University. Nobody wanted him to play quarterback other really than NDSU. And I think he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he hears all the noise around him. And I expect that he comes out and I mean, his back's against the wall, I think, is the way that he looks at it. And I think he likes that. I think that's where he's comfortable. It's kind of been his MO really for quite a while. So even in high school. Let's get to the next one. Double B Studio. Any games you're going to try to go to in person? So I originally was going to go to the Chiefs game. And then I started to look at the Dolphins game and even the Seattle game. I got to be honest, I don't think I'm going to make any this year. I just dropped $1,000 to go to the Tampa Bay Bucks and Ravens game. My son, my youngest, this is his first year really getting into football. He's become a Lamar Jackson fan, Baltimore Raven fan. I don't know how that happened, but I really want to take advantage of that and watch a lot of football with him this year. He's been playing a lot of football. And so we're going to go to a Bucks game together as a family, both my sons, my wife, and I. And that was pretty expensive. I don't know if I could sneak, and then we're going to the Dominican Republic as well in December. Just a lot of money going out, and you got to make some sacrifices. So That's one thing that's probably not going to happen this year for me, is a 49er game, which is unfortunate. But I'll definitely make it out to one next year for sure. No doubt about it. But thank you guys so much for the questions. Thank you guys for the support. Let me show you some love real quickly here for the donations. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is what I'm hoping for, right? You bring up a good point here, 49ers Daddy. So here's the deal. My son, like I said, he's just getting into football. He started playing Madden. He did not like playing with Jimmy Garoppolo because he's not fast. So he starts playing with other quarterbacks. He likes Allen. He likes Mahomes, obviously. And Lamar is really fast. And so he likes to play with Lamar Jackson. And so that's low-key why he became a Ravens fan here. He's still young enough. I talked to him about Lance on a regular basis. He asked a lot of questions about Lance. He likes Debo. So we'll see. We'll see if we can convert him. But for right now, he's a Ravens fan. And I just got to deal with it. But like I said, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm definitely going to go to a game with him this year. Looking forward to that. But to each and every one of you that called in and contributed to the show, I really appreciate you. Thank you all so much for the support. We're trying to get to 6K subs. So if you can, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. I hope you all have a blessed weekend. And if something crazy happens, you'll hear from me. If not, you'll hear from me next week. I appreciate y'all. Have a blessed night. Have a blessed weekend. And we'll talk soon.